Commander Kim Tae-ho walked slowly around the large metal table in the Seoul Command Center. The room was filled with bright lights and computer screens showing maps of Earth, outside the tall windows. He could see the huge alien ship floating. In the sky above the Han River, the ship was bigger than any building in the city. It had been there for 6 months now. People had gotten used to seeing it. Dr. Park Soo-jin sat at her desk, checking the translation machine one more time. She was nervous. Today was another meeting with the aliens, and she wanted everything to be perfect. The Zephyrian Collective had been so kind to humanity. They offered to share their technology and knowledge. All they wanted in return was to learn about human culture. The holographic chamber in the center of the room began to glow with blue light. Slowly, the figure of Veltar appeared. He was tall and thin, with smooth gray skin and large black eyes. When he spoke, his voice was soft and musical. Every human who met him felt calm and happy. "Greetings, friends of Earth," Veltar said with what looked like a smile. "I hope you are well today." "We are very well, thank you," Kim Tae-ho replied. He still felt amazed that he was talking to a being from another world. "How are the cultural exchange programs going?" "Wonderfully," Veltar answered. "People are so interesting. We have learned much about your art, your music, your history. You humans have such rich emotions and creativity. Very special." Dr. Park Soo-jin smiled. She had spent months working with the aliens, helping them understand human languages and customs. The Zephyrians seemed to love everything about humanity. They asked endless questions about human behavior, about how people lived in different places around the world. "We have more gifts for you," Veltar continued. "New medical technology that will help your sick people, better computers that will make your work easier, and communication devices that will let you talk to anyone on your planet instantly." Lieutenant Lee Min-ho watched from his position at the communications desk. His job was to monitor all the signals going in and out of the alien ship. For months, everything had seemed normal. The aliens sent scientific data and cultural information. They received similar things from Earth, but lately, something felt different. The signals were getting more complex. Sometimes he caught bits of alien language that the translation machines could not understand. When he asked about it, Veltar always said it was just technical information that would be boring to humans. "Your generosity amazes us," Kim Tae-ho said. "We have prepared more information about human history for you. Dr. Park has collected stories from every continent." "Excellent," Veltar replied. His large eyes seemed to shine brighter. "We are particularly interested in your military history, how humans fight, how you survive in difficult situations. This knowledge helps us understand your ... spirit." Dr. Park Soo-jin thought this was a strange thing to focus on, but she had given them what they wanted. Stories of wars, of survival, of how humans behaved when they were scared or desperate. The aliens seemed fascinated by these tales. What the humans did not know was that high above them, in the hidden parts of the alien ship. Veltar's people were doing very different work. In dark rooms filled with strange machines, they studied the information about human weaknesses. They mapped every city, every military base, every place where humans might try to hide. On the walls of these secret chambers hung the preserved remains of creatures from other worlds. 17 different species, all extinct now. Each one had been contacted the same way. Each one had been offered friendship and technology. Each one had trusted the Zephyrians completely. The aliens were not explorers or teachers. They were hunters, the most skilled predators in the galaxy. For thousands of years, they had traveled from world to world, finding intelligent species to hunt for sport. They had turned this into an art form, studying their prey for months before beginning the hunt. Humans were special, though. Veltar and his people had been watching Earth for years before making contact. They had seen how humans fought each other, how they survived in every environment on their planet, how they adapted to new challenges. This would be their greatest hunt ever. The cultural exchange centers that had been built in major cities around the world were not really for learning. They were processing facilities designed to hold large numbers of humans when the hunting began. The gifts of technology contained tiny tracking devices, so the aliens would know where every human was hiding. We should begin the final phase. Soon Veltar thought to himself as he talked with the humans. They trust us completely now. They have given us everything we need to know. But as he looked at the three humans in front of him, something made him pause. Kim Tae-ho stood straight and alert. Even while being friendly, Dr. Park Soo-jin asked smart questions about everything. Lieutenant Lee Min-ho watched and listened to everything with sharp eyes. These humans were different from the other species they had hunted. They seemed more aware, more careful, even while being trusting. This would indeed be interesting. Until tomorrow, friends, Veltar said as his image began to fade. The hunt would begin very soon. The morning sun was just coming up over Busan when the sky turned red. Captain Choi Do-yoon was drinking coffee in her office when the alarm started screaming. She ran to the window and saw something that made her blood freeze. The peaceful alien ships that had been floating quietly in the sky were now dropping smaller ships that looked like metal teardrops. All units report to battle stations. She shouted into her radio. But even as she spoke, she could hear explosions. In the distance, the alien ships were firing bright blue beams that cut through buildings like paper. Everything they touched simply disappeared. Private Yoon Jae-sung was running across the base when the first alien hunters landed. He had trained for many different kinds of war, but nothing had prepared him for this. The aliens looked different now. They wore black armor that seemed to bend light around them. Their weapons made no sound, but whatever they pointed at simply stopped existing, Captain, Yoon shouted as he reached the command building. They're everywhere. Our bullets just bounce off them. Choi Do-hoon grabbed her rifle and ran outside. She could see her soldiers firing at the aliens, but their bullets hit some kind of invisible wall around each enemy. The aliens moved slowly, almost casually, as if they were walking through a park instead of a battlefield. One of the aliens turned toward her. Through its helmet, she could see the same large black eyes she had seen in the peaceful meetings. But now those eyes were filled with something that made her skin crawl. It was the look of a cat watching a mouse. Fall back to the tunnels, she screamed. The subway system ran under the city. Maybe they could escape there. She grabbed Yoon's arm and pulled him toward the nearest subway entrance. Behind them, the command building exploded in blue light. The alien weapons made everything simply disappear, leaving nothing but empty air. Where walls and people had been, in Seoul, Dr. Park Soo-jin was in her laboratory when the attack began. She had been working on a new translation program when the building started shaking. Through her window, she could see the large alien ship. That had been peaceful for so long. Now it was firing weapons at the city below. This cannot be happening, she whispered. They were our friends. But even as she said it, she remembered all the strange questions the aliens had asked about human military history, about how people fought when desperate, about where humans would hide if they were being hunted. Her computer screen flickered. And suddenly, she was looking at files she had never seen before. Alien writing filled the screen, but her translation program could read some of it. What she saw made her feel sick. A prey species analysis. Humans, the file read. Hunting ground, planet Earth. Estimated sport value very high. Estimated harvest. Time, 3 to 4 months for complete extinction. There were other files too. It's pictures of creatures from other worlds. It's beautiful, intelligent beings that looked like they had once been alive. They were just trophies, preserved like hunting prizes. 17 different species, all killed by the same hunters. Dr. Park realized with horror that the cultural exchange centers were not for learning. They were traps. The aliens had been studying humans like animals in a zoo, learning their weaknesses, preparing for this moment. She grabbed her laptop and ran for the stairs. The elevator was too dangerous now. She ran down the stairwell. She could hear the sounds of hunting above. Screams, explosions, and the terrible silence that came after the alien weapons fired. In the mountains of Gangwon Province, Sergeant Kim Borum was leading a group of refugees away from the cities. He had been visiting his family when the attack began. Now he was trying to get them to safety, but he was not sure where safety could be found. Stay quiet, he whispered to the 20 people following him. Move slowly. Do not make noise. They could see alien ships in the distance, searching the valleys with bright lights. But something was different here in the mountains. The aliens seemed less confident. Their ships moved more carefully, as if they were not sure of the terrain. Kim realized that the aliens were used to hunting in open spaces or in cities. But these mountains were full of caves, hidden paths, and places where their technology might not work as well. Maybe humans had a chance here. We need to get to the old mine, he told his group. It goes deep underground. They cannot find us there. As they moved through the forest, Kim saw something that gave him hope. The alien hunters were following predictable patterns. They searched in straight lines, like they were following a computer program. But humans knew these mountains. They knew secret paths and hidden places. For the first time since the attack began, Kim smiled. The aliens thought they were hunting helpless prey. But they had never hunted humans before. They did not know that humans were survivors. They did not know that when humans were cornered, they became dangerous. Let them come, he whispered. We will show them what happens when you hunt the wrong species. The first day of the hunt was ending, but the war was just beginning. 3 months had passed since the aliens began hunting humans. Deep underground in an old mine in Gangwon province, engineer Lim So-young worked by the light of small electric lamps. Her hands were dirty and cut from working with alien metal, but she did not stop. Around her, pieces of broken alien equipment covered several tables. I think I understand how this works, she whispered to Colonel Park Hyun-woo, who was watching. Over her shoulder, she held up a small device that glowed with soft blue light. This is their shield generator. It creates a wall of energy that stops our bullets. Park Hyun-woo looked tired. He had been leading the survivors in this area for weeks, trying to keep them safe while they learned about their enemies. Can we break it? Maybe, Lim So-young said. But look at this. She showed him another device, this one dark and cold. This came from the same alien soldier. When I took the shield generator out, this one stopped working too. I think they are connected. In another part of the underground hideout, Corporal Lee Vijin was studying papers covered with drawings and notes. For 2 months, she had been watching the alien hunting parties. Every day she drew maps of where they went and what they did. They always do the same things, she explained to Private Nam Jun-ho, who sat beside her. They wake up when the sun comes up. They hunt in groups of 3. They always check the same places in the same order. Nam Jun-ho looked at the maps. It is like they are following rules. Exactly, Lee the-jin said. My grandfather was a hunter. He told me that animals follow patterns. If you learn the pattern, you can predict where they will be, she pointed. To a mark on the map, tomorrow they will search this valley. They'll always do it on the 4th day of their cycle. You will be ready for them. Dr. Jin Hana was in the deepest part of the mine, looking at something that made everyone uncomfortable. On the rock wall, she had drawn pictures and charts showing what they had learned about the aliens. No, but these were not technical drawings. These were about behavior. They are not just hunters, she told the group of survivors who had gathered. Around her, they are sport hunters. They hunt for fun, not for food. She pointed to one of her charts. Look at this. Every time they kill a human, they take something. A piece of clothing, a personal item, sometimes part of the body. These are trophies. The people around her looked sick, but she continued. This is important. Sport hunters follow rules. They have codes of behavior. They want the hunt to be challenging, but not too challenging. Captain Choi Do-yoon, who had escaped from Busan with only 12 soldiers, stepped forward. What does that mean for us? It means they have weaknesses, Dr. Jin Hana said. They expect us to run and hide, expect us to be afraid. But what if we do something else? In a small side tunnel, Private Yoon Jae-soon was teaching other survivors how to be quiet. He had learned this skill during his time hiding in the ruins of Busan. Breathe slowly, he whispered. Move like water. Think about where you put each foot. Right. Behind him, an old man named Kim Dong-sik was sharing what he knew about the mountains. I lived here for 60 years, he said. I know every cave, every hidden path. The aliens have good technology, but they do not know this land. The most important discovery came when they found the alien data storage device. Lim So-young had pulled it from a crashed alien ship. When they finally got it working, what they saw changed everything. The device showed records of other worlds, other species that the aliens had hunted. 17 different civilizations, all extinct now. But as they studied the records, they noticed something strange. Look at the time, Dr. Park Soo-jin said, pointing at the alien writing that their computers could now partly translate. Every other species was extinct within 4 months. The longest any species survived was 6 months. Colonel Park Hyun-woo did the math in his head. We have been fighting for 11 months. The room became very quiet. Finally, Dr. Jin Hana spoke. We are different. Every other species they hunted followed the same pattern. They ran, they hid, they died. But we are still here. Why? Asked Captain Choi Da-yoon. Because we learned, said Lim So-young, holding up the alien shield generator. She had taken apart, because we adapt. Nam Jun-ho nodded, because we fight back. That night, as the survivors made their plans, they realized something important. The aliens were not gods. They were just very good hunters who had never met prey that could learn their tricks. Lee Va-jin looked at her maps and charts. Tomorrow, when the alien hunting party came to the valley, they would find something they had never found before. They would find humans who were no longer running. They would find humans who had learned to hunt back. The war was about to change, and the aliens did not know it yet. 2 years had passed since the aliens first attacked Earth. Major O. Soon-min lay flat on his stomach on top of a broken building in Incheon. Through his special scope, he watched 3 alien hunters walking through the empty streets below. The scope was made from human and alien technology mixed together. It could see through the aliens' camouflage. Target confirmed, he whispered into his radio. Sniper Kong Moran was positioned on another building 300 meters away. She could hardly believe what she was seeing through her own scope. Veltar, the same alien who had spoken so kindly to humans during the peaceful meetings, was now leading a hunting party. He carried weapons and moved like a predator stalking prey. I have a clear shot, she whispered. Permission to fire? Negative, Oh Soon-min replied. We need him alive. Stick to the plan. The plan had taken weeks to prepare. The humans had learned that the aliens were creatures of habit. They followed the same routes, used the same tactics, and always responded to distress calls from their own kind. This predictability had become their weakness. Private Yoon Jae-soon was hiding in the basement of a nearby building. In his hands, he held a device that looked like alien technology, but had been modified by human engineers. When he pressed the button, it would send out a fake distress signal that would sound like it came from injured aliens. Ready when you are, Major, he said quietly. Oh Sung-min watched as Veltar and his 2 companions moved closer to the trap. The humans had chosen this location carefully. It was a construction site where new buildings were being built before the war started. Now it was filled with concrete barriers, steel beams, and hidden explosives. Now, Oh Sung-min commanded Yoon Jae-soon, press the button. Immediately, the sound of alien voices crying for help filled the air. The fake distress call was perfect, copied from real alien communications they had recorded months ago. Veltar stopped walking. His head turned toward the sound, and he spoke to his companions in their alien language. Through their translated radios, the humans could understand what he was saying. 2 of our hunters are trapped, Veltar said. We must help them. 3 aliens moved quickly toward the construction site. They jumped over barriers and climbed through the steel framework with ease. Their technology made them strong and fast, but it also made them confident. A confident lieutenant commander. Shin Dong-wook was waiting inside the construction site with 10 other soldiers. They had spent days preparing this trap. Explosive charges were hidden throughout the building. Electromagnetic pulse devices were ready to disable alien equipment. Nets made from alien metal were positioned to capture rather than kill. Are coming up the east stairwell, he whispered to his team. Remember, we want prisoners, not bodies. The aliens reached the 3rd floor of the unfinished building. Their sensors told them that the distress signal was coming from just ahead. But as they stepped into the main room, Veltar suddenly stopped. Something is wrong, he said to his companions. I do not see any of our people. But it was too late. Shin Dong-wook pressed a button on his controller, and the electromagnetic pulse devices activated all at once. The alien shields flickered and died. Their weapons stopped working. Even their armor became just heavy metal instead of advanced protection. Shin Dong-wook shouted. Explosive charges went off above and below the aliens, but these were not meant to kill. They brought down parts of the building, trapping the aliens in a cage of concrete and steel. The nets dropped from the ceiling. It's made from the same metal as alien armor, but twisted into restraints. Veltar tried to run, but his legs were caught in the net. He fell hard onto the concrete floor. For the first time since the hunting began, he looked afraid. "Welcome to Earth," Shin Dong-wook said, as he and his soldiers surrounded the trapped aliens. "We would like to discuss the location of your fleet." Veltar stared at the humans with his large black eyes. "This is impossible," he said. "You are prey. Prey does not hunt predators. You made a mistake." Oh Sung-min said as he climbed down into the construction site. "You thought we were like the other species you killed? But we are different." Kong Moran kept a rifle pointed at the aliens, even though their shields were down. "We learn, we adapt, we fight back." The other two aliens were unconscious, but Veltar was still awake. He looked around at the humans surrounding him and seemed to realize something terrible. "How many of our hunting parties have you captured?" he asked. 12 in the past month, Shin Dong-wook replied, "and we are just getting started." For 2 years, the aliens had hunted humans across Earth. They had killed millions of people and destroyed entire cities. But now the tables had turned. Humans had learned their patterns, stolen their technology, and discovered their weaknesses. "You wanted to hunt us?" Oh Sung-min said, as soldiers began to secure the alien prisoners. "Now you get to learn what it feels like to be hunted." The war was far from over, but something important had changed. The aliens were no longer the only hunters on Earth. 3 years had passed since the aliens first came to Earth. Admiral Kim Young-soo stood on the bridge of a massive spaceship floating high above the planet. But this was not an alien ship anymore. It was the former Zephyrian flagship, now under human control. The walls were covered with human technology mixed with alien equipment. Human soldiers walked through corridors where alien hunters had once planned their attacks. "Status report," Kim Young-soo said to his crew. Captain Jang Hai-won looked up from her control station. "All human ships are in position. The last alien vessels are trying to escape toward the edge of our solar system." Kim Young-soo nodded. It had taken 3 years, but humanity had finally turned the war around. The species that had once been hunted like animals were now the hunters. The aliens who had killed millions of humans were now running for their lives. "Do not let them escape," he ordered. "We have a message to send." In the fighter pilot section of the ship, Lieutenant Park Jin-ho was preparing for the final battle. His spacecraft was unlike anything that had existed before the war. It was built with human engineering but powered by alien technology. It was faster and more deadly than anything the Zephyrians had ever faced. "All pilots, this is your final mission," he announced to his squadron. "Today we finish what they started." The human pilots flew their hybrid ships with a skill that surprised even themselves. They had learned to fight in 3 dimensions, to use the aliens' own tactics against them. But more than that, they had learned to fight with a fury that the aliens had never seen in their previous hunts. On the main bridge, Communications Officer Bae Sung-ho was preparing the most important broadcast in human history. Had been planning this moment. They had captured enough alien equipment to send a message across the entire Zephyrian network that connected all their worlds. "Broadcasting on all Zephyrian frequencies," Bae announced. "The message is going out." Now, the message was simple but terrifying. It contained detailed recordings of how humans had turned the hunt around. Videos of alien hunters being captured, their technology being stolen, their ships being destroyed. Most importantly, it showed how humans had learned to hunt the hunters. Dr. Ji-hai had prepared the final analysis that would be sent to every alien world. She had studied the Zephyrians for 3 years, learning their psychology, their fears, their weaknesses. Now she was ready to use that knowledge as a weapon. Species designation. Human, her report began. Previous classification. Prey species. New classification. Apex Predator. Threat level. Extreme. Recommendation for all Zephyrian forces. Avoid at all costs. The report contained everything the aliens feared most. It showed that humans were not like the 17 species they had hunted before. Humans did not just run and hide until they died. Humans learned, adapted, and became whatever they needed. To survive, General Li Su-jin watched from the observation deck as the last alien ships tried to flee. 3 years ago, those same ships had arrived at Earth, expecting an easy hunt. The aliens had thought they were facing another weak species that would be extinct within months. They had been very wrong. Captain Jung Hai-1 reported. The last alien command ship is trying to surrender. No, Kim Young-soo said firmly. Let them go. Let them run back to their people with the message we sent. This was the most important part of the plan. The humans did not want to kill every alien. They wanted some to escape. They wanted survivors who would tell other Zephyrians what had happened on Earth. They wanted the alien species to know that they had awakened something they should have left alone. As the last alien ships disappeared into space, the humans began to understand what they had become. The war had changed them. The species that had once dreamed of peaceful contact with aliens had become something harder, something more dangerous. What happens now? Asked Dr. Anji-Hai. Kim Young-soo looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, other alien species might be planning to attack Earth. Other predators might think humans would be easy prey. But they would be wrong, just like the Zephyrians had been wrong. Now we make sure this never happens again, he said. We prepare for the next hunters who might come. And we make sure they know what happened to the last ones who tried. The message that had been sent across alien space was already spreading. On distant worlds, species that had never heard of humans were learning about Earth. They were learning that the small blue planet had turned a species of apex predators into prey. Lieutenant Park Jin-ho landed his fighter on the captured alien ship. As he climbed out of his cockpit, he looked at the human flag that now flew where the Zephyrian banner had once been. The flag was not the same as it had been 3 years ago. It had been changed to show what humanity had become. The war was over. But humanity was no longer the same species that had first received peaceful messages from space. They had become the very thing that had once hunted them. When survival was at stake, humans had learned the most important lesson in the galaxy. Sometimes, to survive, you have to become the monster.